My name is Joe Torrillo. I'm a retired lieutenant from the New York City Fire Department, one of the few actual survivors of the collapse of the Twin Towers. And as I'm going over the Brooklyn Bridge, I'm looking to the left, and about an eighth of a mile away, I can see about 10 floors of fire wrapped around the whole top part of the building. And I'm thinking, wow, this is no little plane. And I got to my old firehouse, which was right across the street from the South Tower, to grab a set of firefighting clothing from another fireman who was off duty by name of Tommy McNamara. It was right now 9:03, 3 minutes after I got to the scene. And I heard a roar, and I looked up, and the second jet came over my head. Came right over my head and slammed through the South Tower. And at that point, I realized that, hey, it's a terrorist attack. And then I heard a loud rumble and a roar, and I looked up, and now the tower's collapsing. It's 9:58, 55 minutes later after being struck. I'm right outside underneath it. And as I'm running, the building's coming down in what we call a pancake type of collapse. One floor hitting the floor below 110 times. Boom, 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 boom. And I landed face first in the middle of Liberty Street, and then a piece of steel hit me in the back of the head and split my head open, and huge slabs of concrete were just hitting my body. And now I'm buried under tons of steel and concrete. I have a fractured skull, my ribs are broken, my arm is broken, my neck and spine is crushed, I'm bleeding internally, and I'm suffocating. And about 25 minutes later, they found the void, and they found me. They dug me out, put me on a stretcher, and they placed me on the deck of the boat, and they were holding my head closed. And I heard them saying that I was going to die if I couldn't get to a hospital. And then there was another loud rumble and a roar, and everybody on the boat started screaming. Now the North Tower started collapsing. Now the North Tower buried the boat on the river. And I'm buried a second time and suffocating all over again. And they came into the engine room to start the motor and found me. And they knew they had to get me to a hospital right away. I was in Jersey City Trauma Center. And all firefighters, we write our name on the inside of our coat. It said Tommy McNamara. So I was admitted as Tommy McNamara for 3 days. The fire department didn't know, assumed that I had been killed. And 3 days later, I would be found alive in another state. Well, you know what? I had to make a big decision psychologically. What do I do? Do I get myself back together again, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, or do I crawl into a corner, shrivel up, and die? And I knew that wasn't an option. I knew that in the true spirit of what firefighters represent to everybody else, you have to show tremendous strength and courage under any situation. And I knew I had to do that whether I liked it or not. I had to just physically heal and then deal with the mental issues, which was the injury to the brain. 4 years I had big problems with balance and dizziness, visual problems, and the doctors told me that, this can go on for a long time. They don't know how long, but you're going to have to deal with it. And I realized at that point there was nothing else I can do, that time had to be on my side, and I really needed to be patient. The importance and the significance of taking vows and promises in life, whether you get married or whatever that is. When I became a new firefighter in New York City, when I was sworn into the department with 124 other young guys back in 1981, in January, we stood in front of the mayor of New York City and the fire commissioner. And in that oath, we were taking a vow and a promise that we'd be willing to lay down our life in protecting life and property so that somebody else might live. And as I was buried underneath that building, I realized that I never took that vow and that promise very seriously. I took it very lightly because I never thought I'd have to live up to it. And I realized that that day, in fact, I was living up to a vow and a promise I'm not sure I ever wanted to take. At any given moment, life can affect us in so many different ways. And at the end of the day, we all get caught up in bad situations, things that were beyond our control. And, you have to always know you got to dig down deep inside of yourself to find the strength to get yourself back together. Of course, it's always easier said than done. I would say, to always remain strong. Tomorrow, when that sun shines and has nobody's particular name on it, that sun that shines tomorrow morning is for each and every one of us. It's the start of a new day and a new beginning for almost everything. You'll never know your true strength until your weakest moment. Bravery is nothing more than the coward that we let escape from inside of us. And there's a good reason why the rear view mirror in your car is much smaller than the windshield, because what lies ahead for all of us is way more than anything we'll ever leave behind.